Nelson Mandela once said, if you talk to someone in a language that he or she understands, it goes to their head. But if you talk to someone in his or her own language, it goes to their heart. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cedeno, and today I'll be briefing you on bilingualism. I'll be talking about bilingualism in children, how it transfers over into employment, and then I'll be touching on how it may slow the effects of Alzheimer's disease. So according to the Associated Press, 66% of the children in the world speak more than one language. When that equates down to the United States, it's only 6.3% for us, which puts us behind the rest of the world. I myself have been speaking English and Spanish since the age of 5. Had it not been for my parents taking the time to teach me and show me all the benefits that I would have in learning this other language, I would never have been able to reap such benefits. And being a kid should be about being carefree and just having fun, right? Well, according to some studies done by Barbara Z. Pearson's Raising a Bilingual Child, she states in there that children that are taught more than one language have profound and long-lasting effects for them in their lives, such as improving cognitive abilities. Let me explain. A child's brain is like a sponge when exposed to information and ideas. It gives them another name for a specific object, as well as another outlook or idea on a different type of subject. What it means is basically it creates mental flexibility, which in turn helps them perform better at solving math problems or dealing with certain logical skills. Ellen Boystock, a psychologist at York University, stated in her controlled studies of cognitive performances that bilingual children consistently outperform monolingual children. And this was due to the decision-making process that is part of the brain that deals with processing languages. In it, she states that both brains in bilingual kids are working at the same time and both languages are active, even when only using one language. What it does is it creates a situation where it forces the brain to resolve the conflict, thus giving the mind a workout, which in turn strengthens the cognitive muscles. So how is that for the power of language? So now that I've talked about bilingualism and how it is in children, I'm going to go ahead and brief on the career opportunities from having multiple languages. It's been documented through bilingualcrossing.com, one of the nation's most highest bilingual employers, that personnel who speak more than one language have the opportunity to earn anywhere from 5 to 20% more money than folks that only speak one language. In today's world, with the expansion of free trade, many companies are broadening their horizons and heading out towards the world for dealing with other types of products. When they do these type of stuff and they deal with other countries, it makes for better business when you have personnel on your staff that speak different languages, because that also creates a high demand for these type of jobs. Businesses figured out that if you have personnel that speak bilingual languages on their staff or multilingual languages, then it saves them money in the long run, and it cuts out them having to get translators or pay for a certain type of interpreters. So it begins with us, and it begins in our schools, and it begins with the education from us when we're kids to adulthood, and the teachers passing on and parents where the great benefits are of learning another language. So now that I've touched on that, I'm going to go ahead and brief on how it may slow the effects of Alzheimer's. So what is Alzheimer's disease? Well, it's defined as a progressive mental deterioration occurring in middle and older age personnel due to the generalized degeneration of the brain. There were studies conducted in several institutes, one of them the Rotman Research Institute, which studies show that being bilingual delayed the onset effects of Alzheimer's by up to 3 to 5 years. According to a report, personnel that only spoke one language began to see the onset of memory loss at the age of 72.6 versus bilingual personnel and patients whose memory loss didn't begin until around the age of 77.7. The study suggested bilingualism being a cognitive demanding task contributed to the brain keeping cognitive reserves. And these cognitive reserves enhance intellectual functions at an advanced age. Most of the research criteria produce positive effects on intellectual stuff such as speaking, crossword puzzles, and even playing bridge. With these positive effects and adding on to it, ultimately build up your cognitive reserves, which ultimately lead to the overall well-being for all the patients that were involved in the study. Further studies will be done in the future to see if, in larger groups, to see if the effects can be expanded and to show how it does over time with Alzheimer's disease. But they're hoping that the bilingualism affects from the cognition of all the patients that have Alzheimer's. But there'll be more to follow on that. So in conclusion, today I'd like to say I spoke about bilingualism and bilingualism in children, why it's a great career boost for personnel, and why studies have shown that it may delay the onset of one of mankind's most worst diseases. So that being said, I'll leave you with this. Sarah Caldwell, a famous American opera director, said it best when she said this about bilingualism. Learn everything you can, anytime you can, from anyone you can. Because there'll always be a point in your life where you'll be grateful you did. Thank you, everybody.